The information I'm about to share with you is top secret, and the governments don't want you to know, so they can keep you working for them for the rest of your life. These are mind-expanding concepts that will allow you to create infinite flows of money for yourself, so that you can beat the rat race.
Excuse my poor attempt at trying to become a conspiracy theorist, but the truth is, if everyone was to actually do the things I'm about to tell you in this video, it wouldn't be that beneficial to government. But that's not the point. So in the sphere of retail investors and personal finance enthusiasts, one of the most commonly asked questions is, how much should I invest? How much would I have to put in for me to be able to retire? If you watch until the end of this video, we're going to explore all the ins and outs of how much you're going to have to save, how much you're going to have to invest for you to finally be able to reach that financial number where you can retire and do the things that you love. Honestly, the concept is really mind-blowing. So stick around. Welcome back to the channel, guys, where we talk about lots of fancy stuff and interesting stuff like investing, lifestyle changes, and saving money. So get me here. When I say retirement, I'm not talking about an age, right? There's no way where it says you have to work until you're 65. The retirement I'm talking about is a financial number. The point where your passive income matches how much you need to live on. When you reach that stage, you can retire. And reaching that point opens up endless possibilities for you. You can then go and spend time on other passions that you have, spend time on your health, focus on your friends and your family, and it gives you this extra time that you can really make the most of. Now, for you to be able to achieve this state, one of the most important things is going to be your ability to save money. You're always talking about saving money. Do you ever spend money? Yes, I do spend money, okay? It's just like saving money is just a big part of this. There's a movement called the FIRE movement, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. Now, the philosophy here is to save money aggressively, around 50 to 70% of your income, in hopes of managing to retire early. That's right, half your income.
Why, man? Why?
But that's really going hard at the goal, which is respectable, but might not be suitable for most people. So in this video, we're gonna go through the numbers and the ranges that might work for you. So it turns out, how much you're gonna need to retire boils down to one thing, regardless of whether you're a billionaire like Jay-Z or you're just a student that's just graduated from college. It will entirely depend on your savings rate as a percentage of your take-home income. Your savings rate is determined by two main things: how much you're taking home and how much you need to live on. So let's look at the two ends of the savings rate spectrum. Let's say you are currently spending 0% of your money, right? And that means you're saving 100% of your money, managing to live free somehow, some way that the rest of us on the planet don't know. Then you, my friend, can retire right now, and there's no need for you to be watching this video, and you can leave. Goodbye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
However, if you're on the other end of the tightrope and you're spending 100% of your money, then you will never ever be able to retire. Your working life is going to be infinite because you're always going to have to be making money for you to be able to survive. Unless your grandparents or like your parents or somebody else is doing the savings for you, maybe like the company you work for or something like that. By that I mean that they've got like a pension fund or something that they do for you, in which case then, you know, it's not the same thing. But now once we start looking in the middle, things get a little bit more interesting, because once you start saving and investing money, the earnings your money makes make more earnings. And on top of those earnings will make more earnings. And then before you know it, you have this massive, gigantic snowball of cash that's coming out for you, and that belongs to you. Okay, so now to put it into perspective, in terms of the numbers and the ranges, here we go. We're gonna work with $2,000 as your take-home pay, okay? So the numbers work out like this. If you make $2,000 and then you save 5% of that $2,000, which is $100.
Wow.
Get me. Man's not dumb.
It'll take you 66 years before you have enough money to retire. Okay, now for me, that means retiring when I'm 86, and that's way too old. In my opinion, I'll be way too old. I won't even be able to enjoy the retirement at that stage. So that's obviously not working out well. If you up that number by just 5%, now, okay, you're saving 10%, and that's gonna be $200 a month. At a 10% savings rate, you're going to be able to shave off 15 years from that original number, and you'll be able, so now you will only have to work for 51 years before you have enough to retire. And 51 years it's still a lot in my opinion, but you're getting closer now. But you've managed to shave off a solid 15 years from how long you'd have to work just by saving an extra 5% of your take-home income. What's funny is 10% is actually higher than most averages in most countries. So if you're doing 10% and saying, yeah, I'm doing better than average, it's obviously clear that even just better than average isn't doing all that great, because you're still gonna have to be working for a very, very long time before you can actually retire. If you wanna hear something shocking, listen to these stats. In the UK in 2020, the average savings rate was 8.2%, right? And half the population didn't even have a contribution to their savings. That means the majority of the population in the UK is set to working for what we said in earlier on was almost 51 years of their working career. And in the United States, prior to COVID-19, the savings rate was around 7.2%, and a whole third of the population had less than $1,000 in savings. Clearly, if we're working with these numbers, a large majority of the populations are going to be working well into their old ages. But because we are smart and we like to save money and invest money and we're financially literate, we are going to be able to retire just a little bit earlier than that. And that sounds good. That sounds like a good deal, doesn't it?
I don't know, it's so difficult not to look smug at this point.
Okay, now let's jump to 20%, okay? Now 20%, this is the recommended savings rate by experts. They tell you to save around 20% of your income, okay? If you take that number down, if you take your savings rate up to 20%, now you're only gonna have to work 37 years before you have to retire. Okay, cool, okay, 37 years, that's starting to sound a little bit more reasonable. I mean, it's all right, retiring when I'm 57. Okay, makes sense, but like it's still a long way away and I'd like to retire a little bit earlier than that. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little bit more serious about my savings. Okay, let's bump it up to 30%. At a 30% savings rate, you're only gonna have to work for 28 years before you have to retire. And I hope you're starting to see where this is going. Now here's a quick run. Bump it up by another 5%. At 35, you'd only have to work for 25 years before you can retire. And at 45% savings rate, you'd only have to work 19 years before you have to retire. Okay, so if I only live off of 55% of my take-home income, and I save the other 45% and I invested, then I'm only gonna have to work 19 years before I retire. That means retiring in my current state or retiring around 39. Okay, now we're starting to talk. That sounds really reasonable. That sounds worth it. At a 50% savings rate, you would only have to work for 17 years before you have enough for you to be able to retire. And then the rest of the levels after that look like this. Big thank you to Mr. Money Mustache. I got a lot of this information from his website. I'll leave a link to it in the description for you guys to be able to go there, check it out and read up on most of the stuff if you want to keep building your knowledge on this concept. But now a little caveat. Oof, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. Anyways, let's quickly note the assumptions that we made in the calculations we did on the savings rate and how much you'd need. Right? The first assumption was that you'd be making a return of around 5% a year on the savings that you're taking out and investing, which is a pretty reasonable assumption. Because let's say you take the money that you're saving and you put it into the S&P 500 ETF, which tracks the United States stock market. I've talked about this in one of my videos. If you invest your money there, S&P 500 is shown to give an annual average return of around 10%. So making a 5% return on your investment by just taking your money and letting it sit in an ETF like that will give you should expect to make returns around there. So we're making 5% a reasonable amount. The next assumption was that you go with what's called the 4% safe withdrawal rate. Why they came to 4% involves a lot of maths and analytics about the stock market and its returns and its up and downs, which I won't bore you with, and I'll just explain how the 4% would work. So let's say you have $800,000 invested into your savings account, or not savings account, into your investment account, and what you'll then do is then take 4% of that, which is, my goodness, there's a lot of math involved in this video. 4% of that, which is 20,000.
Man, do big maths!
And you live off of that for the rest of the year. And the amount of money that you're going to be withdrawing is obviously that 4% is going to have to encompass things like flexibility in times of maybe recessions or emergencies that you might have to cater for. And we've also done the calculations assuming that you're not going to drastically change your lifestyle. So once you retire, then there's no need for you to then start living above what you're already living. You assume that what you're currently living on, the lifestyle you have, is what you're willing to continue living on. If you then decide to change your lifestyle and start increasing the amount of money you're spending, your retirement account is not going to be able to keep up with that. and then you're gonna have to start chewing away at it, and it obviously won't last that long. Which is the next point, which says that we're assuming that you want your money to last forever, right? And that it'll never end. That's the whole point of retiring, so you don't have to work again. Imagine a man in a boat, and he's trying to scoop water out of the boat, and water keeps coming in faster than he can scoop it out. It's obviously he's not gonna get anyway, okay? And imagine like a tree, and a person's trying to chop down the tree, but then the tree keeps growing faster than he can chop it down, okay? The tree's just gonna be endless, so he's gonna have infinite firewood. And okay, that's the end of all the analogies that I have, unfortunately, so you guys are gonna have to help me here. It's important to realize that reducing your spending rate has a larger effect on how soon you're gonna be able to retire than increasing your income, for two reasons. Every decrease in what you spend per month is an increase in what you have left over for you to go and invest. And every decrease is also a permanent decrease in how much you need for you to be able to live on for the rest of your life. It's not to say that increasing your income is not worthwhile. No, it's very much so worthwhile. So also increase your income. And now if you get to a stage where you are increasing your income and also at the same time decreasing the amount of money you're spending per month, then you, my friend, have cracked the matrix and you are well on your way to financial freedom and independence and retiring and doing whatever you want, and you have broken the system. Don't tell the government. It's really amazing just how a few small lifestyle changes can make such a big difference in the amount of time you're gonna have to spend working and doing other things that maybe you might not necessarily enjoy. However, if you really enjoy your job and you are willing to spend almost 80 years doing it, then that's perfectly fine too. But but if you're not really wanting to work that long and you want other things that you want to pursue, then you've got the numbers and you've got the information, so you do with that what you want. Really, I'm just a random dude on the internet, so there's no need for you to actually take into consideration any of the things that I'm saying, but I mean, if you did, it might just be worthwhile. I'm definitely pursuing this, and I know it's gonna be worthwhile for me. And that's pretty much it. In terms of how much you'd have to invest for you to retire, those are the numbers, and that's what you'd have to work with. Thanks for watching, guys. I have plenty of videos for you to be able to go and check out as well on the channel. Please make sure you do, really, really helpful. And I'll see you guys next time.